You know, I gotta express some brief surprise. Like, I get that it's Steam Summer and everything, so a whole bunch of things are on sale and everything. I wasn't expecting at least one or two of the games that I picked up to have updated recently. Like, I picked up about yeah, it was 5 games yesterday. And some DLC for about $70. Not bad, not great, but even still, I've been waiting to have these specific games for the longest, among which include, but isn't limited to, Gunfire, and... shoot, I'm trying to remember. There was a second one that I was really wanting. Noida, that was it. So, chances are, some of these games might be appearing on stream within the next coming weeks. Just a little tip. Oh, and I also got a DLC for Streets of Rage, finally. So I'm gonna have a whole lot of fun with that. Especially since that DLC gets a lot of stuff. But this isn't the time to talk about Steam Summer. Nakamana. My name is Sage Blake. I'm a wanderer, storyteller, artist and mature, and we're back with more Nonary games. As promised, I did play up to about where we were before, and I got that axe ending, so we don't have to worry about that. I've done my due diligence. As for where we're headed this time... well, we need to go through a whole bunch of cutscenes, but other than that... we're probably gonna be headed back for at least some of the same direction that we were going last time. Specifically just to get one more ending. Then we'll be headed back through the 5-door and see what's through there. Or, you know, the one that didn't involve the exploded body. Because I don't know about you, but I think we've gone down the tomato sauce path a little too much. And I guess while I'm skipping through cutscenes and everything, I can just talk shop Steam Summer. So I've noticed that it's impossible to get the badge currently, I think, because the specific game that the first hint of the Clorthax thing is referring to doesn't exist on Steam anymore. Or at least the page doesn't exist. I've tried my hardest to look it up, and I can't pull it up anymore. I'm not sure if I missed something or somewhat, but you got me. And that's kind of annoying, because I would have liked to have that badge just so I can level the Steam account a little bit. But hey. Egg! Ox, fly! Thanks, by the way. Oh, this is new. No, wait, actually, it's not. But we still need to talk to him and go through all 3 of these. You jerk-ox. I think the games that I picked up were pretty much the ones that I mentioned on stream yesterday. So, the Streets of Rage 4 DLC, as well as Fatac, which I've been wanting to pick that one up for the longest, because I want a good tactical RPG. just to consider doing for game clearing. Noida was another one. I did pick up Hades, I believe. Just want to double check the Steam account for that one, because... Yes, I did pick up Hades. So that's going to be an interesting one. Because for the most part, I'll be going into that one blind. I've specifically avoided a whole bunch of spoilers, avoided watching gameplay videos for the most part. I have seen one or two here or there, but usually nowhere more than like 4 or 5 minutes. Because I'm good about that type of thing. I tossed around in my head whether or not I'd pick up RF4. I don't fully remember if I did or not. No, I did not. I'll wait for another time, I think. I've already spent $70 on games. I'm good. Besides that, if I remember correctly, you could usually find RF4 at a better price once the sale for Marvelous Entertainment happens in September. And at this point is when I consult my resources just to remember where I need to go for this next ending. I don't think it matters, but I figure I'd check just in case. Okay, so door 5 was the casino. So this time around, we go through door 7. Alright, that means June's coming with us. What? Santa grimaced, muttered angrily to himself, but finally began to explain. If the 6 of us are gonna keep going without leaving anyone behind, there's only 3 ways we can do it. Those are our only options. In other words, 3 and 4, and 7 and 8 can never go through the same doors. You get it now? As Santa finished, June looked over at Junpei, tears welling up at the corners of her eyes. Oh no. You're saying we aren't gonna see each other again for a long time? Junpei felt just as June did. He wanted to be at her side through whatever trials they were preparing to face. But he knew if they were to survive, he had to swallow his feelings. In order for the 6 of them to move forward, he and June had to be separated. He was scared to lose her, but... He steeled his resolve, did his best to smile. Hey, come on. You're making it sound like we're never gonna see each other again. We gotta split up, but only for a little while. This is just like when we went to door 4 and 5, remember? We got split up then too, but we all met back up. I'll bet 7 and 8 are just like that. You mean they're connected somewhere? Yeah, probably. Probably? She didn't sound very hopeful. It was 7 that interjected. I'm sure they're gonna connect somewhere. Why? What makes you think so? Picked 6 because... Funny because you were born in June. Alright. I'm not sure if I wished you happy birthday on that one yet. When was your birthday again?
If they don't connect, neither team can get through door 9. In other words, the game would end right here. Zero's been on top of his shit so far. I don't think he'd blow it now. I'm damn sure that son of a bitch wants us to have his fun as long as possible. He's not gonna end the game until we get through the 9 door.
Ah, the 8th. Okay, I think I did wish you a happy birthday. June said nothing. The tears were gone, but her eyes were still sad as they looked to Junpei. He met them, and with what reassurance he could manage, laid his hand gently on her shoulder. Everything's gonna be fine. We're gonna see each other again, I promise. June bit her lip, gave an almost imperceptible nod. Yes. Promise? Her voice was barely above a whisper. Santa's voice shattered the moment. You guys done? He stretched. That's pretty much it. Clover and I will both go into separate groups. I figure I'll take 8, Clover could take 7. Any problems with that, Clover? She looked away, was silent. Whatever. It was more of a dismissal than an agreement, but Santa didn't care. Alright, we're ready to go then. Let's move. Actually, I am curious about something real quick. I want to see if increasing the system volume might change the game volume, because when I've been editing this, I've been noticing that it's been very quiet. I've had to boost things. And little trivia, I've effectively boosted this game all the way that I can without rupturing eardrums. I might need to go a little further beyond, but hey. At Santa's command, the group split, headed for their respective doors. Clover, 7, and Junpei to door 7. Santa, Lotus, and June for 8. For a long moment, they stood in front of the door. 7 took a breath.
You guys ready?
Yeah. Yes.
Let's go.
The door had opened. A hallway stretched out before them. Santa and Clover leapt through. The moment they did, their bracelets beeped. The detonators had been activated. Junpei stepped forward to follow them. But as he did, he stopped, looked to his right, toward door 8. June stood there, a mirror image of Junpei. She turned, looked to him. Their eyes met, and nodded. Their farewell took a second and a half. Then someone gripped Junpei's arms, hauled him bodily through the door. It shut behind him. His bracelet gave a cold, electronic beep.
81 seconds. No time to waste. Let's get moving.
7 led the way down the hall. Junpei and Clover followed as fast as they could. After what seemed like far more than 81 seconds, they reached the end. To the left of a wooden door, they found the dead. There was no time to rest or catch their breath. All 3 slammed their hands in quick succession over the scanner panel. Still trying to catch his breath, 7 leaned heavily against the wall. It stopped. It stopped. His smile seemed forced, even crooked.
This is the second time we've gone through one of these numbered doors, but you never really get used to it.
He stood up straight, no longer out of breath, wiped some of the sweat from his head and neck. Clover smirked at him. I would have thought a guy your size would have bigger balls than that.
What? The hell did you just say? Say it again, I dare you!
You have no...
You little... You wanna die?
I'd like to see you try.
Fucking brat. Alright, let's go! Calm down. This isn't the time for this. It's not gonna do us any good. Sheesh. Junpei sighed. Sometimes he wondered if the doors and the puzzles were really the greatest challenge they faced. Just wait here for a moment. I'm gonna go see if there's another door. They didn't respond, but Junpei wasn't in the mood for a conversation. First, he examined the inner part of the numbered door. It was, of course, shut tight. On the left, a short hallway that terminated almost immediately at a thick iron wall. Junpei doubted it could move. At last, he gave up, returned to 7, tapping lightly on a wooden door. This one's the only option we got, right? Seems like it. A metal plaque bolted above the door reads, Operating Room. It was to be believed, the room on the other side was, indeed, an operating room. Something about it made them nervous. There's no point standing around. Might as well go in and see what's waiting. The creak of the hinge sounded like the groan of an old woman. A chill snaked its way through Junpei's spine. He gathered what courage he could, took the first step into the room. 7 and Clover followed behind. Part of the room just past the door was obscured by a screen. Clover's curiosity got the better of her. She darted past to peer around it. Actually, if anything, I think from here it's going to be redundant scenes. At least until a certain point, I believe. So let's take care of our usual puzzle. Get moving. But yeah, like, I essentially took a moment yesterday to mess around with a couple of the things I decided to buy for Steam Summer. SOR 4's DLC was more than worth it, specifically because, well, 6 US for 3 additional characters, an additional game mode, and a bunch of techniques for all of the characters in the game. Mind you, you have to earn them, but even still, that's a pretty good price, all things considered, for a beat-em-up. Not to mention, like, the characters that you do get from the DLC all play drastically differently in several ways from most of the other characters in the game. In the baseline game. Estelle has a whole lot of maneuverability options that most of the other characters don't have. And some pretty nasty combos, too. Shiva, well, reimagined Shiva, I should say, is absolutely disgusting. He can't use any weapons, but he also doesn't need to. Specifically because he has, again, a whole lot of maneuverability options. A very deadly combo game. I haven't exactly tried Max yet, but I'm imagining that he has a bunch of super armor on a lot of techniques, so that's going to be fun to mess around with.
And as for the extra techniques I've been getting from characters by playing the new mode, the survival mode, essentially, they are broken, at least in some way, shape, or form. Cause like, it's no big surprise that I main Adam when it comes to Streets of Rage 4, cause that was the character I played the most then. And back when I played Streets of Rage 1. But some of the extra techniques you can get from him are kind of disgusting. His dash attack can hit enemies that are on the ground when pretty much no other dash attack can do that by default. It chains into itself. And at that, it can even hit enemies in the air, too, which Uzi Punch doesn't normally do. It is a bit of a shame that some of the extra techniques don't actually have additional voice lines. Unless you're talking, like, DLC characters. But hey, I can forgive that, honestly. Because so much polish has been put into the survival mode that it's just impressive. Entire new area, new and reimagined areas type of effort. Exclusive, by the way, to the survival mode. And I wouldn't have thought that a beat 'em up turned roguelike would have been so interesting, but I kind of want to see if that's possible for a full game now. Like an entire roguelike beat 'em up. Because there's already elements of it within SOR4. As well, within the DLC mode for SOR4. And it gets me thinking about how a roguelike for a beat 'em up could work. Because how the survival mode works in SOR4 is that you fight a bunch of enemies in a single enclosed room. When all the enemies are finished, then you get an additional power-up. These power-ups can range from basic biddy things like extra defense, extra attack power, to, hey, guess what, you can get more score from defeating enemies, to, hey, let's put an elemental effect on some of your attacks that can splash damage to other enemies, or otherwise deal additional damage on top of what you're dealing. And there are even some trade-off abilities where, like, you can leech health by dealing damage to enemies, but in exchange not be able to heal via items. And it leads to a whole lot of creativity and messing around and experimentation, and it's so cool. My only real complaint with it is, at the end of the day, the amount of power-ups that you get in this mode is small. It's not that big of a pool. It's maybe like 20 or 30 different power-ups. And sure, getting the same power-up multiple times does upgrade it, but there are diminishing returns. At least for some of the more broken power-ups. It's still fun, though. And if I can ever find someone to, like, play it with, I would totally like to do a co-op playthrough of SOR. It's my guilty pleasure, what can I say? I understand it doesn't really do well in terms of streaming and everything, but I feel like every streamer has that one game that they really, really like playing, but can't, specifically because it doesn't do well in terms of pulling an audience. Which is kind of a shame, because it's usually those types of games that the person really, really likes, that they can be the most creative or be the most interesting, but they don't exactly get the chance, if that makes sense. To a limited extent, it works with... To a limited extent, it applies with Teanos and Monster Hunter. For me, it's Streets of Rage. For... I can't really give any other examples. But you kind of get my point. Like, there's always a game that would be really, really cool to play for a stream. Just the unfortunate part about it is people aren't interested in it, and it's saddening. But hey, there are always other options. Alright, let's peek at Snake's dead body again. Look at all that sauce. Let's see. I'm trying to remember what games I picked up for Steam Summer. I've already mentioned Fatac. Such, I already covered Fate Tactics at least a little bit through... Prepper? Let's see who remembers that one. I really like Fatac, because it's like if Disgaea decided to be a little more lighthearted. And I was already a fan of Disgaea. Actually, come to think of it, I need to pick up Disgaea like 5 and 6 at some point. I feel like those two would be good games to do for streams. But then again, they're also tactical RPGs, so it might not be as interesting to look at. It's always a toss-up when it comes to that type of thing with Twitch. Okay. Let's go. Ah! Thanks for scaring me! Desi! Hello! Welcome to Synapse. We host all types of wanderers here, yourself included. Hope you're doing well. This is, 9 hours, 9 doors, 9 persons. Let's say people are gonna die. I want to go through door 6. Jinbei flipped over the paper. Of course it did. And of course it read as he said. He'd written it. That's the problem. June spoke barely above a whisper, but they all knew what she'd said. None of these teams will want to go through the doors they want to. Clover and I chose door 1. Lotus and I chose door 2. That's not enough people to open a numbered door, however. The digital routes don't match up either. We've got similar problems. June, Junpei, and I want to go through door 6. Our digital route is 5. If we're gonna open that door, we need a 1. Damn. What are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do? Junpei crossed his arms, did his best to put his thoughts in order. The others followed suit, but with little result. Eventually, Clover broke the silence. Why don't Seven and Lotus go through door 1? With me? Her face was cold, flat, as was her voice, but her logic was sound. Seven and Lotus looked to one another. The first problem was resolved. Ace spoke up. What about me? Isn't it obvious? Wasn't one of the teams just complaining they didn't have a 1? You mean, I should join Santa's team? Clover nodded, her face still cold, emotionless. Her attitude and posture couldn't have been more different than the energetic girl of only a few hours before. No one seemed ready to contradict her. Her response was understandable, given the horrible situation in which they found herself, but even still. I understand. I'll go through door 6 then. If we do as Clover had suggested, we can all pass through a numbered door. No one will be left behind. This seems to be the most reasonable solution. 7? Lotus? What do you guys think?
I don't have a problem with it.
Me either. Alright, we're good to go. At last, Junpei and the other 6 had separated themselves into 2 teams. Clover, 7, and Lotus went to A deck, where door 1 was. Meanwhile, Junpei, June, Ace, and Santa traveled to the E deck. Alright, let's go. Santa's words jolted them to action. They stepped into their long, straight hallway. Before long, they arrived in front of door 6. One by one, they put their palms over the red. With a soft noise, they authenticated. The door opened. And at once, they leapt through. Fortunately, the dead was easily found. It had been placed quite close to the door they'd entered through. They gathered around it quickly, placed their palms on it one by one. It stopped. Yeah, it stopped. Junpei's heart was still pounding, like a frantic, thunderous drum. It felt as if he might shake itself out of its throat. He'd been through the doors 3 times, but repetition hadn't dulled the experience. He wasn't anxious to find it dulled. He'd hoped to be free of this ridiculous game long before that happened. Alright, let's go! With that attempt at humor, Junpei took a breath, began to walk. He jogged down the stairs at the end of the hall, found himself staring at a large door. It was a heavy thing made of iron, more than a little threatening. He took hold of that bar that served as the doorknob and shoved it down. The room beyond stopped him in his tracks. Oh, fuck, I think it's this pathway. It was a gargantuan and made entirely of metal. None of the accents of wood or tile he'd seen in the rest of the ship. The room was purely functional, but utterly tremendous. What the hell is this? Santa got out a few words before awe stole the rest of them. The rest were too stunned to offer anything more than gasps. It was easily the largest room they'd seen, and yet closed and oppressive. The ceiling at least 2 stories high, if not more. It was easily several hundred feet across, and appeared to stretch the entire width of the ship. In the center of that gargantuan room stood a massive, rounded building. Even from a distance, the sheer bulk of it was oppressive. Junpei could feel the room, the building, even the air pressing down on him. Junpei and the others were standing on scaffolding that crisscrossed the whole area. Junpei thought, although that didn't seem particularly important. Let's head downstairs. Nearby, a large iron staircase made its way, eventually, to the floor beneath. They moved around toward the opposite side of the massive building, following the catwalk. They hadn't said much as they walked, but as they approached the building, Ace spoke up. This looks to be the steam engine room. Steam engine? Yes. The thing that looks like a cross-section of a mushroom is a boiler. Do you see the 3 round doors near the bottom? Coal is put into those and burned, which heats the water, producing steam. The same thing that drives a steam engine. This one is simply somewhat larger. I see. Even if Ace was right, the boiler was boiling nothing as they approached it. The entire room was as silent as a grave. But suddenly, Junpei heard a noise. June had collapsed to her knees. Hey, what's wrong? Are you alright? He dashed toward her, wrapped his arm around her shoulders to steady her. It was then he noticed. You're really warm. Is your fever coming back?
Yes, it probably is. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. I just need to rest. I'll be fine.
Her voice was weak, forced, and it said a great deal more than her words did. Junpei carried her toward the nearest wall, propped her up against it. She let her head fall back against it, as if she no longer had the strength to support it, and drew a ragged breath. Her eyes were empty, and as if she was having trouble focusing them, and even speaking seemed difficult. Junpei felt his hand ball into a fist and clench tight, his knuckles whitening. He had to find a way out, and fast. He looked at the others. They might not have shared the depth of his emotion, but they shared his concern. He didn't need words to express the urgency of their situation. Let's get started. Hang in there, June. I'm gonna get you out of here real soon. She managed to nod before leaning back to rest. With tensions building like heat, it's time to seek a way out. If I remember correctly, the steam engine is a fairly complicated set of rooms. And it's not necessarily going to be obvious what to look for. Silver gear. Think it's made of pure silver? No way! Silver's way too soft to use for gear. Gotta be steel or iron that's been coated with silver. Ugh. Shouldn't have been called a silver gear. Shouldn't have gotten your hopes up. What, were you thinking you would haul this thing back? Nah, I think 7 could probably carry it. Knowing how strong he is? Probably. I remember bits and pieces of this one, not 100% all of it. I know I need to look for specific things, though. I don't think we need to go into any of the furnaces. This looks just like the door we went into. Where are we? We must be on the other side, yes? Which should put us directly above the conveyor belt. At any rate, we should keep moving. There's a great deal we've yet to investigate. A whole bunch of boxes. A winch. It's a simple machine, used to lift things up and down. Simply turn the wheel to pull up the rope. Why don't you turn the wheel? Gave it a spin. That's weird, I'm feeling a resistance. Shit! Good job, genius, you broke it. I didn't break it. It broke all by itself. I believe this wheel is used in a separate location. Might actually be for this winch. Let's see if it fits. Perfect fit. Guess they were made for each other. Not shaky at all. Should be able to turn this. It looks like there's some sort of device in the box. I'm not sure what it is. This wheel only turns to the left. It only turns the left. So we can't reel up the rope. We can only let it down, yeah. Interesting. I doubt that'll be a problem. We'll simply need to go downstairs after letting the wooden box down. We'll be counting on you. I believe the box has reached the floor. Should've. Junpei stuck his head outside the catwalk. The box that only recently hung below now sat on the floor, come to rest near the tunnel that covered the conveyor belt, near where June had collapsed. Junpei could still see her, leaning against the wall as if she had barely had the strength to sit up. Even from so far away, it wasn't difficult to see she wasn't improving. He almost thought he could see heat rising from her body. She doesn't seem to be improving. Ace's expression was inscrutable, but he'd said what they'd all been thinking. Well, of course not. She's not gonna get better right away, you know. It'll take time. He tried desperately to convince himself that what he'd said was true. What could be causing this, I wonder? Illness, perhaps? Nah, it's gotta be exhaustion. Santa's response was confident, certain. She gets dropped into some weird-ass ship, forced to play some messed-up game. If you think about it, it's a lot weirder that we aren't freaking out just like her, you know? So you're saying we're abnormal? Yeah. We're just running around this room solving all these puzzles like it's just business as usual. How the hell could you call that normal? We're just guinea pigs. Guinea pig? What, you mean like a lab rat? We're being used for some sort of experiment? That what you're saying? Dunno. But it does seem like a possibility, you know? They stood there for a few more minutes, no one speaking until Santa turned, walked away from the winch. Junpei and Ace followed. There's that box. The box will be used... I'm trying to remember where I found that control panel. Oh, this one might be important. And there's a pair of wooden boxes here. There's nothing in them. Hey look, Ace! It's some kind of snowman secret meeting! Those are just bags full of sand. You use them as counterweights when you're lifting something with a pulley system. Man, you're too serious. Snowman meeting. Here. There's only one way to find out. In you go. Hey, you did it. Everything looks alright? So, now what? Why don't you press that button? Wait. Boop! Oh, all sorts of lights are lighting up. And, oh, something turned on. Junpei, look! The conveyor belt's moving! Conveyor? Conveyor? I hardly knew her. Well, I guess it's done moving. Still a bunch of coal on the belt. Seems like a bunch of it got dumped off the end into that wooden box where we found the control panel. Wait. coal. And I believe next up... I believe we need to use this coal to power something. Search for that. Just a matter of remembering which door I need to go through for that. Actually, I might not have needed to go through a door at all. I might have been dumb. That's a gold gear. That's a bronze gear. Here we go. There's a hole that'll let us put coal into the furnace. Maybe if we can get some coal in there and set it on fire. Alright, that's the last of it. No coal left in the box. And nothing. Great. Yes, I should have expected that. Why would I just throw coal into a coal furnace do anything? Man can dream. Junpei, explain it to me again. You're planning to stoke the furnace with coal, which will heat up the water stored in there and make steam, which will then drive something else. Am I correct? In other words, you want to generate enough pressure with the steam to power the turbine. Drive the steam engine, right? I guess that's, the gist of it. Well, in that case, this isn't enough coal. The furnace is enormous. We're gonna need a whole hell of a lot more coal than this. Very well, then. If the three of us work together, we should manage to fill it much faster.
I want to help, too.
I didn't even see her walk up. Are you feeling up to that?
Yes?
Yeah, right. You look like you're one stiff breeze away from falling over, June. I think you'd better rest some more, alright?
But
No arguing. You need your rest. Just stay there. We'll handle this.
Fine.
I understand. Way on the railroad. Dig it. Is it? Shovel as much as the engine needs. Ain't no slave that we slave away. Alright, I think this should be sufficient. So now just to light it. Junpei, hand me a match. Oh, sure. And what makes you think I have a match? Then how are we gonna light it? Perhaps there's a device nearby that can let us remotely ignite it. Let's take a look. Well, we've seen something like that, actually. I didn't click the boxes, game. Come on. This thing.
Tick.
It probably is. I think this is how we ignite the furnace. And tick. Hey, look. The big gears are turning under the boiler. Didn't really turn all that much, though. They're spinning. The hell are you guys waiting for? Let's start looking. Gold dick. And over here. No, that's the gold one. Here was the bronze dick. And I believe in the furthest one is the silver one. There we go. But we don't exactly know where to put these dicks. I think that's part of the ship's structure. They're like ribs that support the hull. Okay, so... Oh man, Junpei, I can't believe we missed something so important. What? Look at those stairs. Look at them carefully. That gap. That height. That angle. It's perfect. Perfect? For what? Whatever, just bring Clover here, right now. Tell her she needs to walk up and down those stairs. Huh? Clover's not here. What the hell is he talking?